Okay, let's talk about Superman the Animated Series. We all know the 90s gem that flew in with its own swagger and laser vision. This was the show where Lex Luthor actually felt dangerous. Metropolis had this futuristic deco, and Superman wrestled with real emotional dilemmas. But here's the thing, beneath all that heroic flying are some absolutely bonkers behind-the-scenes facts. From deep cuts from the writer's room to a few crossovers that aged like a fine Kryptonian wine. We're diving straight into 21 facts that'll change the way you remember this show. So buckle up, because Big Blue's secrets are about to hit daylight. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Put that thing back. We don't know where it came from.
He's not a thing.
Jonathan and Martha Kent's voice actors, a classic TV couple in Smallville. Let's talk about Superman's parents. And no, I don't mean Marlon Brando floating around in crystals. I'm talking about Jonathan and Martha Kent, the Earth parents who raised Clark into the hero we all know. They were voiced by none other than Mike Farrell and Shirley Walker, who are two absolute icons of classic American television. You probably know Mike Farrell as BJ Honeycutt from MASH, always the wise one in the room, and honestly, perfect casting for Pa Kent. Then there's Shirley Walker, who's got an even more nostalgic resume. She starred in the Donna Reed show while doing a bunch of Elvis movies. Walker brought this certain maternal sincerity to Martha that felt so genuine it could melt kryptonite. They reprised their roles in Justice League, showing up when the story demanded that familiar Midwestern wisdom again. That continuity gave the DCAU a special kind of emotional weight that says these people actually matter. Their chemistry is totally believable. It felt like you were hearing a couple who'd been together for decades while seeing it all and still had this calm way of handling whatever alien nonsense came flying their way. Honestly, it's that kind of casting that makes the animated Superman so great. Tim Daly's voice acting realization, oh crap, I'm Superman? When Tim Daly first walked into the recording booth for Superman the Animated Series, he thought it was just another cool gig. A heroic voiceover job sounds pretty neat, doesn't it? But then it hit him. He is not just voicing a superhero, he's voicing Superman, the superhero. And suddenly, that cool gig started to feel a little intimidating. In interviews, Daly has talked about how he didn't realize at first just how serious people were about this character. Fans worshipped him, so there was a weight in every word he said. And voicing him is about control, nobility. Daly had to find that perfect balance of powerful but relatable. And honestly, he nailed it. His Superman was calm but commanding, empathetic without being cheesy, heroic but never over the top. Daly came from live action, and he wasn't a voice actor by trade. So imagine stepping into that booth and suddenly realizing that millions of fans will judge your soul based on how Superman says, "Lois, I'm here."
Everyone, against the walls. Adults to
The origin of Mercy Graves. Here's a name you won't find in early Superman comics, Mercy Graves. That's because she didn't come from the pages of DC. She was born straight out of animation. Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, the genius duo behind the DC animated universe, introduced Mercy in Superman as Lex Luthor's tough-as-nails bodyguard. And boy, did she have presence. Always seen standing near Lex, arms crossed, giving side eyes that could kill, she almost did. She was loyal and could beat down a room full of goons in heels and a pencil skirt. Not your typical assistant, but what more can you ask from a bodyguard? And what made her stand out was how human she was. Luthor might have been a billionaire supervillain, but Mercy kept things grounded. Maybe there was admiration there, or maybe even fear. The show never spelled it out, but we kept guessing. Her animated debut was such a hit that DC Comics eventually brought her into the main continuity. So over time, she has appeared in Action Comics, Justice League Unlimited, and even live-action adaptations like Titans and Batman vs. Superman. That's the kind of staying power most iconic characters dream of. Think about it. A character invented in the 90s for a cartoon now exists across comics, movies, and games. Mercy Graves is living proof that the DCAU expanded the lore. She may have started in the passenger seat, but Mercy's legacy, full throttle. comic versus animated Mercy Graves. Now let's talk style, because Mercy Graves has had one of the most dramatic glow-ups in the DC universe. When we first met her in Superman the Animated Series, she was rocking a very specific look. Sleek dark hair, black chauffeur's uniform, leather gloves, and that don't mess with me attitude. She was Lex Luthor's driver and bodyguard. Oh, and occasional enforcer. Think Alfred meets the Terminator, but with sass. But once DC Comics brought her into the printed world, everything changed. The animated version was clearly designed for simplicity and visual punch. In the comics, artists had more freedom, and they took it. Her design evolved. Gone was the chauffeur getup. She became more corporate and stylish. To believe some iterations, she even got way more cutthroat, like a woman in charge. Then came the New 52 and Rebirth eras, and things shifted even more. Mercy started showing up as a blonde. Then, in Young Justice, she had an Asian-inspired look with a cybernetic arm. In some versions, she's even part machine, like a full-on cyborg with tech upgrades. Now, who the hell would mess with that? That's the wild thing about her. She's like the DC Universe's ultimate chameleon. The only constraint is her loyalty to Luthor, though even that gets tested depending on the continuity. But no matter the version, she's always competent, just intimidating enough to make Superman raise an eyebrow. The show that outlived the movie. Did you know that Superman the Animated Series was never meant to fly solo? Originally, it was supposed to ride the hype train of a major blockbuster film called Superman Lives. You know the one, the infamous Tim Burton, Nicolas Cage Superman movie that never saw the light of day? Flaming skull suit, rainbow kryptonite, Brainiac's robot spider? Yeah, that one. Back in the mid-90s, Warner Brothers was looking to relaunch Superman in a big way, and they weren't just thinking of live action. They wanted synergy. So Superman the Animated Series was quietly lined up to complement the film. They even got enough people pumped about it to ensure enough toy sales and make the Superman brand feel fresh again. Smart marketing move, if the movie had actually happened. But as we all know, Superman Lives went through script rewrites and director swaps, eventually crashing into development hell. That left the animated series in a strange spot, since no movie tie-in was associated with it, and yet it thrived. In fact, it kind of became the face of Superman for an entire generation. It's funny how the cartoon was meant to support a movie, but it ended up outlasting and outshining it. Sometimes the backup plan turns out to be the real hero. Bruce Timm's early inspiration. When Bruce Timm sat down to sketch out Superman the Animated Series, his mind went straight to the classics, specifically the Max Fleischer Superman cartoons from the 1940s. And honestly, who can blame him? Those things were stunning. Smooth rotoscope and Superman lifting cars like it's Sunday brunch. Timm was a fan. A huge fan. He originally wanted to channel that Fleischer energy. You know, the exaggerated poses and everything. The plan was to modernize it just enough for a 90s audience. But somewhere along the way, that vision shifted. He realized trying to imitate Fleischer too closely would invite direct comparisons, and maybe not in a good way. It would look like a knockoff, or worse, a half-baked tribute, and Bruce Timm is not the type to play it safe or copy-paste nostalgia. So he switched gears. Instead of mimicking Fleischer, he leaned into a new direction with something stylized, bold, uniquely modern, and totally its own thing. That's where ocean liner deco came in. It had hints of Art Deco, but with smoother lines. So yeah, Fleischer lit the match, but Timm lit a whole new fire, and thank Krypton he did. When artistic respect turned into radio silence. Of course, there had to be some behind-the-scenes drama, right? Well, Alex Toth was not happy with the final art direction of Superman the Animated Series. And I mean, really not happy. Now, let's set the stage. Toth was a titan in the world of animation and comic art. His fingerprints are all over the original Super Friends, Space Ghost, tons and tons of DC character designs. When Bruce Timm started cooking up the Superman animated project, he he actually reached out to Toth for advice. There was a real respect between the two. But when Tim made the decision to shift away from the Fleischer-style homage, which Toth loved by the way, he hated it. Really disagreed on a philosophical level. In Toth's eyes, the Fleischer look was Superman. Anything else was either too soft or too stylized. Not enough grit. And instead of just agreeing to disagree, Toth reportedly cut off communication with Tim altogether. Just radio silence. A quiet little breakup in the world of superhero animation. It's kind of tragic, honestly. Two artists, both brilliant in their own right, but with totally different visions of what Superman should look like. Why Superman's eyes never glow. In the series, Superman's eyes never glow red when he uses heat vision. Ever. Not once. And that wasn't an accident. Bruce Timm and the animation team made a very deliberate choice here. They didn't want Superman to come off as threatening or monstrous, even when he was unleashing one of his most powerful abilities. I mean, if you think about it, glowing red eyes are usually reserved for villains and machines who are, let's just say, on the edge. The second Superman's eyes start glowing, he stops looking like a protector and starts looking like a weapon. And that wasn't the tone this show wanted. Their Superman was noble and rather deeply a human being, even when he was blasting a giant robot with laser vision. So the animators kept the heat vision subtle. You see a thin red beam, maybe a wince, and that's it. What's wild is how effective this choice was. It kept Superman emotionally grounded, like he's in control of his powers rather than being consumed by them. And visually, it separated him from the usual angry alien trope we see in a lot of modern superhero media. The show that gave Superman villains a glow-up. Let's be honest, before the Superman series, a lot of Superman's villains were kinda bland. They didn't have the same iconic punch as Batman's rogues. But that changed fast once the show rolled in, because now, suddenly characters like Metallo and Bizarro became serious players. Take Metallo, for example. In the comics, he was a crook with a kryptonite heart, but the show gave him a tragic backstory. That one episode where he realizes he can't feel anything anymore is truly chilling. You felt for the guy, even if he was a walking death trap. Then there's Toyman. In the comics, he was goofy, like Rubber Ducks and Wind-Up Penguins goofy. But in the show, he wore that creepy doll mask and spoke in a soft, childlike voice that was somehow 10 times scarier than any Joker laugh. An unnerving villain, you must say. And of course, Bizarro was broken and misunderstood. Watching him try to save the world in backward, destructive ways was equal parts tragic and weirdly adorable. So you see, the show rebuilt the characters, added personality, tragedy. The best part was that these new versions became so iconic, the comics and later shows started copying them. Season 2 episode count change, the expansion no one talks about. Originally, the second season was only supposed to be 26 episodes long, which was pretty standard for animated shows at the time. But somewhere during production, the powers that be, likely impressed by how solid the show was turning out, decided to bump that up to 28 episodes. 2 extra episodes might not sound like much, but in animation, that's a huge deal. It meant more story breathing room and possibly more characters. And when you're dealing with a character as massive as Superman, every extra minute counts. The move gave the showrunners more flexibility. They could stretch their arcs a little wider and throw in standalone gems that became fan favorites. It's always nice to give the writers a little more elbow room to experiment. And let's not forget, this was the late 90s pre-binging era, so you had to wait week to week. And so getting more content in a season felt like gold, especially when the quality didn't dip one bit. If anything, Season 2 is when the series started flexing harder, both visually and emotionally. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes decision that doesn't get a lot of spotlight, but it helped Superman TAS level up when it needed to. Quietly, efficiently, like a true pro move, just like Superman himself. Superman made friends and fought things with everyone. One of the best things the Superman series did was play well with others. This wasn't just a solo Superman gig. Nope. This was Superman slowly becoming the friendly neighborhood glue of the entire DC animated universe. The show started sneaking in guest appearances like it was building the Justice League in stealth mode. First up is Batman, and let's be real, seeing Bruce and Clark size each other up in World's Finest was peak 90s animated drama. You had the tech-savvy, brooding detective and the sun-powered alien Boy Scout. And let's just say, the chemistry was off the charts. Then came the Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, all popping up across episodes. Sometimes to help, sometimes to argue, sometimes to just tease bigger things ahead. But every time they showed up, it reminded you that Superman wasn't flying around in isolation. This was a world of heroes. And that world didn't feel tacked on. These crossovers were actually baked into the show's DNA, as if they are part of the same shared timeline. These moments helped lay the groundwork for Justice League and Justice League Unlimited in the years to come. Basically, Superman TAS was doing the DCAU version of the MCU crossover thing, but like 15 years earlier.
As soon as I find the Joker.
That may not be soon enough.
When Gotham's Clown met Metropolis's Boy Scout. Now here's a chaotic energy combo no one expected, but absolutely needed. Superman versus the Joker. The Clown Prince of Crime took a little vacation from Gotham and decided to wreak havoc in Metropolis, just because he could. This wild crossover happens in the unforgettable two-parter, the Batman-Superman movie World's Finest. Joker teams up with Lex Luthor and offers to take down Superman for a cool $1 billion. Can you even imagine the sheer ego in that room? This is where we witness the beautiful clash of worlds. Joker's anarchic madness crashing into Superman's save the world energy. It's like watching a Tasmanian devil spin its way into a physics class. Joker even steals kryptonite to mess with Supes, which proves just how unhinged and oddly competent he is when he's motivated by a little green rock and a fat paycheck. And watching Batman and Superman reluctantly team up to stop this nonsense is just the chef's kiss. The contrast in personalities, fighting styles, and even detective skills, it all clicked. Plus, Harley Quinn in Metropolis is comedy gold. Joker just saw an opportunity to kill a god and annoy Batman in one trip, and honestly, that's exactly the kind of chaotic field trip he would take. Superman may punch meteors, but nothing throws him off quite like a smiling lunatic with zero morals and a bag full of bombs. Superman becomes the Bat and has no idea how to be Batman. So imagine waking up and learning that Batman has gone missing. Gotham is spiraling into chaos, like more than usual. And who's the poor soul, brave or foolish enough to step in and wear the cape and cowl? Clark Kent. Yep, the literal opposite of everything Gotham's Dark Knight stands for. In the iconic episode Nighttime, Superman pretends to be Batman. He throws on the suit, which barely hides his beefy alien physique, and swoops into Gotham pretending like he's been doing this brooding thing his whole life. Spoiler, he has not. This episode is a goldmine of fish-out-of-water comedy mixed with heartfelt respect. Superman even tries doing the whole scary Batman voice. He glares at criminals. He tries to interrogate like Bruce, but ends up just lifting thugs off the ground like a human forklift. It's awkward, it's hilarious, it's amazing. But beyond the laughs, Nighttime shows just how much Superman respects Batman. He doesn't just try to replace him, he just wants to keep Gotham safe until the real guy returns. It's that rare DC moment that highlights the friendship between these two icons without turning it into a rivalry. Oh, and Batman was missing because Brainiac brainwashed him, which, yeah, sounds about right for this universe. Whether you're Team Bat or Team Supes, this episode proved one thing: you can't fake the Bat. But sometimes, even the world's most hopeful hero has to go a little dark to protect the night.
What do you think you're doing?
My father's will.
When Superman became the villain, sort of. And then we get to Legacy, the finale. The holy crap, did Superman just betray Earth kind of episode that hit like a Kryptonian punch to the gut. Here's the setup. Darkseid, ever the manipulative space tyrant, captures Superman and brainwashes him into believing he's his son. Big Blue wakes up thinking he's a proud soldier of Apocalypse and immediately goes full tyrant mode. He invades Earth, only to become the very threat he's sworn to protect against. It's jarring and brilliant, because once Superman finally breaks free of the Control, he doesn't just get a pat on the back and fly off into the sunset. The world remembers what he did, the fear, the destruction, the betrayal. Suddenly, people see a possible weapon. This arc does something that very few Superman stories dare. It shakes his image to the core. It forces Clark to grapple with something bigger than any villain, public distrust. And worse, self-doubt. Legacy closes the series with raw emotional stakes. Superman's final line is, "I've got a lot of work to do." That's not about fixing buildings, that's about earning back trust from Earth and from himself. Now that's a mic drop. Superman's heat vision almost looked totally different. During early development, the creative team toyed with giving Superman a completely different look for his heat vision. I guess something closer to a continuous laser beam or even glowing white-hot energy bursts. But after several tests, they realized the effect looked too sci-fi and didn't match the clean, ocean liner deco aesthetic of the show. Instead, they settled on powerful red bursts, which are more comic accurate and visually punchy. Interestingly, they also had to balance how often Superman used his heat vision. Bruce Timm and his team were cautious not to make Superman overpowered in animation, and heat vision was not treated as a go-to weapon. Behind the scenes, animators had to hand-color those frames with special overlays. That's why Superman rarely spams heat vision, and when he does, you know that it matters.
You picked the wrong time, pal.
A gut punch from Apocalypse. If you want to see that particular moment when the series grew up, it has to be in Apocalypse Now Part 2, specifically the death of Dan Turpin. Turpin was a no-BS Metropolis cop with a New York accent and fists faster than protocol. He wasn't rich or with any of the powers, but the guy had heart. He stood toe-to-toe with alien war machines and always had Superman's back, sometimes more than the people who wore capes. But then came the gut punch. After Superman finally forces Darkseid's retreat from Earth, there's a moment of hope, and then, boom! Darkseid casually vaporizes Turpin in front of everyone with his Omega beams. No big speech, no dramatic fight, just gone. This was heartbreaking, especially for a kids show. You don't expect a grounded human character to die so brutally and suddenly. And here's the real emotional twist. The funeral was a tribute to Jack Kirby, the comic book legend who inspired Turpin's character design. You can feel the love in that final montage. The swelling music, the tear rolling down Superman's cheek, the quote on Turpin's grave, "A hero is no braver than an ordinary man, but he is brave 5 minutes longer." In that moment, Superman didn't lose a sidekick, he lost a friend, and the audience lost one of the most grounded heroes the show had. Still one of the most powerful scenes in the DCAU, real and raw. How smart design choices saved time, money, and sanity. Animation is a beast, and a beautiful one at that, but a beast nonetheless. Every extra line, every tiny detail can add hours, days, or even weeks to production time. So when Bruce Timm and his team designed Superman the Animated Series, they had a secret weapon: streamlined geometric designs. Instead of going nuts with super detailed, photorealistic drawings, the art team embraced simplicity with clean shapes and easy-to-animate forms. This was a strategic choice to make the animation process faster and more cost-effective, because animation is expensive. The fewer complicated details meant fewer corrections. Plus, simpler designs allow the animators to keep the quality high without breaking the bank. And this design choice didn't just save them money, but actually became a style. That geometric look gave the show its timeless feel. So what started as a practical production hack turned into a defining characteristic of the show's aesthetic. It's a perfect example of how creativity often springs from constraints. In short, less really was more, and the show looks incredible because of it. Byrne's modern Superman origin. If you've ever wondered why Superman the Animated Series feels so fresh yet classic at the same time, a big part of that is thanks to John Byrne's post-crisis reboot of Superman from the mid-1980s. After the massive Crisis on Infinite Earths event shook up DC's multiverse, Byrne was tasked with reinventing Superman for a new generation, and boy did he deliver. The animated series leans heavily on Byrne's vision, but with some smart tweaks. stakes. Instead of the near godlike, unstoppable alien from earlier comics, this Superman feels more human, and his powers are more measured. We're talking heat vision that needs careful aiming, and a vulnerability to kryptonite that actually matters. The origin story is tighter too. Instead of sprawling backstories with multiple retcons, it zeroes in on Clark Kent's upbringing in Smallville and the values his adoptive parents instilled. The series captures that boy-next-door charm very well. Byrne's take also gave Superman a more hopeful tone compared to darker interpretations from the 70s and 80s. The show mirrors that optimism with clear-cut heroes and villains, but doesn't shy away from complex moral questions. It balances classic superhero adventure with moments of genuine emotional depth. The hidden workout of Superman's voice, grunts, groans, and toilet sounds. Voice acting might look easy from the outside, just talking into a mic, right? Kinda like me. But Tim Daly dropped a hilarious truth bomb about what it really took to bring the Man of Steel to life. Apparently, his process involved a whole lot of grunting and straining, like an intense gym session, but with your vocal cords. Daly joked that some recording sessions sounded suspiciously like he was on the toilet. When Superman is hauling giant steel beams or smashing through walls, he doesn't sound like he's just chilling in a cafe, right? Those grunts were intentional and yet exhausting. You felt the weight of the action through Daly's voice. It wasn't just, "I'm powerful," it was, "I'm using every ounce of strength I've got." Daly turned these tough sessions into little inside jokes. It was a recording booth filled with a voice actor trying not to laugh as he emulates some seriously awkward noises that somehow work perfectly on screen. Often in life, behind every heroic line, there's a hilarious grind. Superman sounds unstoppable, but Tim Daly's vocal workout, that's where the real superhero effort was happening. Double duty for Tim Daly. So you think Tim Daly just did Superman? Well, no. He also voiced the hot mess version, Bizarro. And let me tell you, Daly switching from polished Superman to deranged bootleg clone Superman is a delightfully twisted vocal roller coaster. You've got to respect the range here. Bizarro talks like someone scrambled his brain in a blender with a bucket of glue. He really nailed that offbeat, confused, yet oddly lovable tone. It's Superman if he got hit by a thesaurus and then forgot what it meant to be polite. And the best part is that you can still hear Superman in there. It's like Daly took his own voice and bent it backwards. He makes Bizarro sound like a sad mirror version of the hero. He's trying so hard to be good, but everything he says and does comes out completely wrong. One second, he's yelling, "Me am not your enemy," with total sincerity. The next, he's blowing up buildings while thinking he's saving kittens. And Daly plays it straight, too. Fans sometimes forget that doing a goofy voice is easy, but making it emotional is making us care about Bizarro's backward nonsense. That's acting magic. Honestly, if you didn't know they were voiced by the same guy, you'd never guess. That's what you call heroic range. Shirley Walker was a trailblazing composer. Shirley Walker had already made her mark on Batman the Animated Series, so when she stepped into Superman as composer and music advisor, we were more than happy. She was probably the first American woman to compose an original orchestral score for every single episode of a major animated TV show. She didn't just recycle library music. Nearly every Superman installment featured brand new orchestral pieces, tailored specifically to the story. On top of scoring 6 full episodes herself, including heavy hitters like Legacy, she guided a team of composers to maintain a cinematic, emotionally rich musical tone which would be consistent throughout the series. This musical consistency wasn't common practice for cartoons in the 90s, and it elevated Superman TAS to feel more like a feature film than a Saturday morning series. Walker even reused her main theme in Justice League to create a cohesive sonic identity for Superman across the DC animated universe. In short, her work was heroic storytelling, note by note. Marvelous verdict. And there you have it, 21 insane facts about the show that prove it was a groundbreaking masterpiece that reshaped how we see the Man of Steel. Doesn't matter if you grew up watching it or just discovered its magic, there is no denying the lasting impact it's had on pop culture. So, what fact blew your mind the most? Did we miss any behind-the-scenes secret? Do let us know in the comment section below. We're all ears. And if you loved this deep dive, don't forget to smash those like and subscribe buttons for more geeky facts. Until next time, stay super. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.